It was February 9th, 2004, when Maura Murray, a 21-year-old nursing student at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, packed up her car and told her professors she was taking a week off due to a family emergency. However, there was no emergency, at least not one anyone knew about. She told her professors, her friends, and family that she was simply going to take a short break from school. But when she vanished from the icy roads of New Hampshire later that evening, it set off one of the most baffling disappearances in American history. Maura's car was found along Route 112 in Haverhill, New Hampshire, in a location known for its desolation and quiet woods. There was no sign of struggle, no signs of a violent confrontation. Her car was simply abandoned, the engine still running, her headlights on, and the door unlocked. But inside, her belongings, a purse, makeup, and her cell phone, were gone. No footprints, no clue, just an eerie emptiness that still haunts investigators today. But the bizarre part? Maura's case was filled with contradictions and mysteries right from the start. The police reports were inconsistent. Her family's accounts seemed to shift in ways that didn't quite add up, and the theories began to pile up quickly, each one stranger than the last. The story began to unravel the moment the police arrived at the scene. A young woman's vehicle was found abandoned. An officer arrived, apparently in the dark about the significance of the situation. There were few immediate leads, only the unsettling impression of a normal, seemingly accidental incident. However, everything changed when they discovered a series of calls Maura had made earlier in the evening. Calls that led to different, unsettling conclusions. Hours before her disappearance, Maura was in touch with her boyfriend, Bill Roche, and the two had spoken about a potential trip she was planning to take. Bill described Maura as being somewhat emotional but otherwise stable. Yet, in the phone calls leading up to her vanishing, there was a strange sense of detachment. Her behavior was off, more distant than usual, filled with unexplained tension. Why had Maura driven hundreds of miles away for her college in Amherst to a remote area? Why had she left so suddenly, without telling anyone where she was going or why? And most puzzling of all, why didn't she seem to be in any distress when her friends or family spoke with her? Yet by the time she got to New Hampshire, she was suddenly gone? The timeline of Maura Murray's disappearance is a complicated one. Her last known communication was with her boyfriend, Bill, at around 4:30 p.m. From that point, the hours begin to lose clarity. Around 7:30 p.m., Maura called a friend asking to borrow a car. She mentioned her intention to go somewhere, but details were sparse. Some of the last people who saw her didn't even recall seeing her for long, giving the impression that Maura was a woman who had planned to disappear but left no trace. The next significant part of the timeline is the 911 call. At 7:27 p.m., the 911 dispatcher received a call reporting a car accident. When the officers arrived, the scene was odd, to say the least. The car was parked in an area where many accidents had occurred, and it seemed eerily unremarkable. Maura, the driver, was nowhere to be found. The more the investigation unfolded, the more questions arose. Why would Maura call a tow truck company just hours before her disappearance, then abandon the car without taking any belongings? Why had she driven off course, heading into the woods rather than making an emergency stop somewhere with help? She was never seen again after the night of her vanishing, and the case remained unsolved. What happened to Maura Murray? Was it an unfortunate accident, or did something more sinister unfold on that icy night? The truth remains elusive, and as the years pass, the questions keep stacking. Could Maura still be out there, hiding in plain sight? Or has the mystery of her disappearance left a deeper, more sinister secret lurking? Keep reading as we dive deeper into the strange details, new theories, and bizarre evidence that continues to unfold in this chilling case. As the investigation expanded, the timeline of Maura's disappearance began to paint a picture of a woman who may have been running from something, whether it was an emotional crisis, personal conflict, or something darker. Was she involved in something dangerous or unsettling that led to her flight? Theories on her disappearance range from the plausible to the truly bizarre. One theory suggested that Maura's emotional distress, possibly caused by a breakup or some personal trauma, may have led her to abandon her life as she knew it. Had she staged the accident, perhaps even planned to disappear? Could the secrecy surrounding her actions indicate a desire to escape? But then again, there was the matter of her leaving her purse and belongings in the car. This detail never quite lined up with the theory of a woman running away. Yet another theory points to an abduction. Could someone have been watching Maura from the moment she got into her car? Some investigators suspect that a car passing by her on that desolate road might have been involved, but no evidence has ever been found to confirm that. Still, the possibility of a random abduction looms large in many people's minds. Then there are those who suspect that Maura's disappearance might have been a result of a tragic accident that no one noticed. Could she have wandered into the woods, disoriented, and succumbed to the elements? Could she have been the victim of a hit and run, left to die alone in the dark? Yet, after extensive searches, there has been no sign of her. The case of Maura Murray's disappearance has endured for years because it does not fit the pattern of most missing person cases. There are no clear answers, no obvious suspects, and no closure for a family. Over time, theories have multiplied and investigators have followed leads, but still, the truth remains elusive. Maura's family continues to fight for answers, and they hold on to hope that someday they will know what happened to their beloved daughter, sister, and friend. The mystery of Maura Murray is a haunting reminder that sometimes the truth is not easily uncovered. Her story captivates us because of its ambiguity, the strange clues left behind, and the disturbing possibility that we may never truly know what happened to her. Do you think Maura was fleeing from something, or is there a darker force at play in her disappearance? The search for answers continues to this day, and each clue we uncover brings us one step closer, or pushes us further away from the truth. Follow the journey as we uncover new leads and unravel the mystery that has haunted investigators and Maura's loved ones for nearly 2 decades. Will we ever find out what really happened to Maura Murray? The investigation into Maura's disappearance remains an open case, with law enforcement agencies continuing to explore any new leads that come to light. As time goes on, the mystery of Maura Murray remains as compelling and perplexing as ever. With every passing year, the questions grow larger, the theories wilder, and the hope for resolution more distant. Will we ever know what happened on that cold February night in 2004? Or will Maura's disappearance remain a mystery forever? Stay with us as we continue to delve deeper into this case, uncovering more clues, more twists, and more unexpected revelations in the ongoing search for Maura Murray. One of the more striking elements of Maura Murray's case is the emotional complexity surrounding her life at the time of her disappearance. While many assume she simply ran away or was abducted, others believe the emotional turmoil in her life played a pivotal role in her vanishing. Maura, a gifted student, had been dealing with personal issues that were deeply buried from those around her, including family and friends. In the weeks leading up to her disappearance, Maura's life seemed to be unraveling. She had recently been involved in a car accident on campus while under the influence of alcohol, a dangerous incident that she had been trying to cover up. In fact, her emotional distress after the accident was evident, with friends noting her erratic behavior in the days leading up to her departure from Amherst. Was this a desperate attempt to escape the overwhelming guilt she felt over crash? Additionally, her relationships were strained. Her boyfriend, Bill Roche, who had been with her for nearly a year, had been the person with whom Maura had spent the most time in her final days. But their conversations leading up to the night of her disappearance were somewhat unusual. Bill reported that Maura seemed distant, almost disconnected, and that she had been emotionally fragile. Could this suggest that Maura was struggling internally with more than just school pressures? Was there something deeper that she was trying to flee from? Something psychological that led her to take that long drive to the isolated woods of New Hampshire? On the night Maura drove into the desolate town of Haverhill, her car was found off Route 112, a road notorious for accidents. Police determined that the car had crashed into a snowbank and had been left running with the headlights still on. The scene was odd, but it didn't seem to immediately scream foul play. Yet, there was one detail that stuck out. Maura had never been seen again. The police discovered that Maura had called a tow truck, which had been scheduled to arrive the same evening, but no one could ever identify the driver who was supposed to come. Was it an ordinary mistake, or had Maura made this call for a reason? Perhaps in a desperate attempt to get someone to help, or was there something more sinister at play? Was it possible that someone was waiting for her at the scene? Someone who knew she was coming? Could Maura have been fleeing an unseen threat? Or was she running from herself, from the weight of her own decisions? What was really happening inside her mind in the days leading up to her disappearance? Keep watching as we explore more chilling possibilities and uncover the hidden elements of Maura's life that may hold the key to unlocking the truth. As investigators began piecing together the timeline of Maura's final hours, they encountered frustrating gaps. The 911 call, made by a passing motorist who found her car, offered little in the way of leads. Police arrived at the scene shortly thereafter, but they too could only confirm that the car was abandoned. There was no sign of Maura and no immediate evidence pointing to what had happened. The question was, if Maura had crashed her car, why didn't she wait for help? The following investigation was plagued by unanswerable questions and conflicting theories. Many of the initial tips suggested that Maura had been seen walking along the road after the crash, but no solid evidence has ever confirmed this. Some believe that she may have wandered into the woods in a dazed state, driven by panic or disorientation after crash. Others thought that Maura may have been picked up by someone passing through, a possibility that has been hard to verify given the remoteness of the location. Meanwhile, other leads pointed to a more chilling possibility. Maura might have been abducted. However, without any proof of an abduction, or even a credible witness who could confirm this, the case remained as perplexing as ever. Years later, a new twist emerged. In 2014, a person who had been living in the area at the time of Maura's disappearance came forward with a disturbing account. The individual claimed to have seen Maura walking along the road around the time her car was found, but they had not thought much of it at the time. However, upon hearing about the case years later, the witness decided to speak out, offering a new potential lead that reignited interest in the case. This witness claimed that Maura appeared to be in distress and seemed out of sorts, as if she were unsure where to go. But there were other inconsistencies in the story that raised suspicions. Could the witness have been embellishing the truth? Or was this person genuinely trying to help investigators piece together the puzzle? While the information was valuable, it wasn't enough to push the investigation forward. No further evidence was found to confirm this lead, leaving investigators no closer to understanding what happened to Maura that fateful night. As the years passed, the number of theories surrounding Maura's disappearance multiplied. Some people believe that Maura's emotional state, compounded by the pressure of her personal life, may have led her to take extreme measures. Could it be that Maura chose to disappear, intentionally cutting ties with the life she knew? Had she staged the accident as a cover for her escape, walking away from the wreckage with the intention of vanishing into the night? Yet, the possibility of foul play continues to loom large. While the idea of a random abduction is one of the more chilling theories, there's also the possibility that Maura's disappearance was connected to someone she knew, perhaps someone she was running from, or someone who had been following her. The odd circumstances surrounding her car accident, the call to the tow truck, the lack of footprints, and her sudden disappearance make it difficult to rule out the idea of intentional harm. The more theories that surface, the more fragmented the investigation becomes. Could Maura still be alive? Could she have staged her disappearance? Or was something far more sinister at play? As we delve deeper into Maura's case, the pieces of the puzzle seem to grow more scattered. With every new lead, we're faced with more uncertainty, more questions, and fewer answers. What could have happened to Maura Murray? Was it a case of personal escape, or did something far darker unfold that night in the woods? Stay with us as we continue to explore the clues and theories that might finally unravel the mystery of Maura's disappearance. As we draw closer to the end of this section of the investigation, Maura's family continues to search for answers. They refuse to let go of the hope that someday, somehow, the mystery will be solved. But as time goes on, the chances of finding Maura alive diminish, and the case moves further from the realm of possibility and closer to the tragic, unsolved crime category. Maura's case remains open, but her story is far from over. There are still too many questions, too many unknowns for it to be forgotten. And as the investigation continues, Maura Murray's name remains etched in the minds of those who are still looking for the truth. Stay tuned as we continue to delve deeper into this haunting case, piecing together the mystery and seeking closure for Maura and her family. Will we uncover the truth, or will this unsolved case remain a painful reminder of the dangers of the unknown? Only time will tell. For Maura's family, particularly her father, Fred Murray, the fight for answers has been a constant struggle. Fred has been one of the most vocal advocates in Maura's case, publicly speaking out in interviews and participating in every search and investigation possible. Despite the mounting years of uncertainty, Fred has never given up hope of finding his daughter, even when the evidence seemed to suggest that she might never be found. Fred's determination to find Maura has been both inspiring and heartbreaking. In interviews, he has described the torment of not knowing whether his daughter is dead or alive, and the pain of being unable to bury the truth. He has criticized the handling of the investigation, accusing local authorities and the state police of mishandling leads, following poor investigative practices, and ultimately allowing the case to stagnate. Maura's mother, Maura Murray, has similarly struggled with her grief, grappling with feelings of helplessness and uncertainty. The pain of a missing child is unexplainable, and the unanswered questions have kept her from finding peace. While some in the family believe Maura's disappearance was an act of voluntary flight, her own attempt to escape, others like Fred, have held out hope that Maura is still out there, lost or being held against her will. But as years have turned into decades, the grief has become a kind of emotional scar that may never fully heal. The frustration of not knowing has led to strained relationships in some parts of the family, with differing views on how to handle the case and whether the truth will ever emerge. Among the most curious and suspicious aspects of Maura's case is the involvement of the original detective on her case. In 2009, Detective John Smith, who had initially been tasked with investigating Maura's disappearance, made a series of public statements that led many to question the integrity of the investigation. Smith's statements and interviews hinted that there were leads that had been ignored, particularly the theory of a local connection to the case. Smith suggested that there were individuals in the Haverhill area who may have known more about Maura's disappearance than they were letting on, but this lead was never fully pursued. Many critics of the investigation have speculated that Smith may have had his own biases or conflicts that prevented him from conducting a thorough investigation into all possible leads. Some have even raised the possibility that Smith's involvement may have unintentionally slowed the case, allowing it to grow cold and fade from public attention. Could this have been a deliberate cover-up, or was it simply a case of negligence by a detective too overwhelmed by the case's complexities? Maura's family believes that the authorities, at one point or another, stopped taking the case seriously, leaving them with few concrete leads and no closure. With the investigation now in the hands of cold case detectives and private investigators, many questions about Detective Smith's conduct still linger. Could Detective Smith's actions have played a role in complicating Maura's case? Or was it simply a matter of missed opportunities? And could someone within the community have been hiding crucial information that could have solved the mystery? As we continue exploring new angles, it's clear that Maura's case is far from over. Stay tuned for the chilling developments as we dive deeper into the unexplored territories of this haunting mystery. With each new theory, the case of Maura Murray becomes even more mysterious. Some believe that Maura's disappearance was part of a tragic accident, a young woman who wandered into the woods and succumbed to the cold. The remoteness of the area she was last seen and the severe winter conditions made it seem plausible that she may have been disoriented and died of exposure. Despite an exhaustive search, no trace of Maura was ever found in the surrounding woods, leaving this theory in limbo. Others suggest that Maura's emotional state, her struggles with guilt over the car accident, her strained relationships, and her feeling of being overwhelmed may have contributed to a mental breakdown. Did Maura stage her disappearance to escape her life? If she was planning to run away, why leave her belongings behind? And why take off in such an isolated and dangerous area? Was it really an escape attempt? Or was something more sinister at play? The possibility of abduction has been suggested from the very beginning, particularly by those who note the strange circumstances surrounding Maura's car accident. Was she alone when the car broke down? Or had someone been following her? Some believe she may have been lured into a trap, possibly by someone who knew she was traveling alone. There's even speculation that Maura may have been abducted by a passing driver who saw an opportunity to commit a crime. The isolated location of the accident, the fact that Maura was found on the side of a highway far from any major city, and a lack of witnesses to her disappearance make the abduction theory both plausible and terrifying. However, as time has passed, this theory has become less likely due to the lack of substantial evidence or reliable eyewitness testimony. Nearly 2 decades after Maura Murray vanished, the search for her is still ongoing. In the time that has passed, new searches have been conducted in the hope of uncovering new clues, yet the answers remain just out of reach. Each new lead, no matter how small, is chased down in the hope of finding the one piece of evidence that could finally explain what happened to Maura that fateful night. Maura's case has been the subject of numerous documentaries, books, podcasts, and investigative articles. It has become a case that refuses to be forgotten, and yet it remains unsolved, its mystery only deepening as time passes. The lack of resolution has left an indelible mark on Maura's family, who continue to hold out hope even as the years go by. They are haunted by the idea that they may never know what happened to their daughter, their sister, and their friend. The unanswered questions continue to pile up. Could Maura still be alive? Was she a victim of foul play? Or did she stage her disappearance? What really happened on that cold February night? Join us as we continue to follow the investigation and explore new leads, new theories, and chilling revelations that may finally bring closure to this haunting case. Will we uncover the truth behind Maura's disappearance? Or will this case remain one of the most unsettling mysteries of our time? The case of Maura Murray is a testament to the complexity of human nature and the often frustrating reality of cold cases. Despite the passage of time, the disappearance of Maura Murray is a mystery that continues to captivate and disturb. As long as there are questions left unanswered, the case will remain open, its unsettling nature leaving an indelible scar in the hearts of those who loved her. In the end, what happened to Maura Murray that night may never fully be known, but her story, one of hope, frustration, and mystery, will continue to resonate for as long as people search for the truth. While Maura Murray's case seemed to grow colder with each passing year, a resurgence in interest came when the case was featured in several high-profile true crime documentaries and podcasts. These media projects revitalized the search for Maura, bringing fresh attention to the case and, surprisingly, new leads. In 2017, investigative journalist and private investigator James Renner took a deep dive into the case, drawing attention to overlooked details and pushing the investigation in new directions. Renner's work, including his podcast The Disappearance of Maura Murray, brought forth fresh theories that re-examined old evidence and added new context to the case. For instance, Renner posited that Maura's emotional distress may have been tied to more than just personal struggles at school. Renner pointed to Maura's relationship with her boyfriend, Bill Roche, and her apparent secret behavior in the weeks before her disappearance. He also suggested that Maura's sudden departure might have been a calculated escape from someone, possibly someone she was afraid of or trying to avoid. Renner wasn't the only one to stir the waters. A dedicated community of amateur sleuths, encouraged by the podcasts and documentaries, began to reanalyze the evidence, unearthing even more theories about what could have happened to Maura. They began to pore over every detail, searching for answers that investigators may have missed. In 2021, a new lead surfaced from an unexpected source. A man living in Vermont came forward, claiming that he may have seen Maura's car in the early hours of the night she disappeared. He had been driving along a nearby road and thought he spotted a car matching Maura's make and model, seemingly stuck in the snow. But when he turned around to investigate, the car was gone. The witness didn't think much of it at the time, but later recalled the incident after hearing about the case years later. Could this be a crucial piece of the puzzle? The timing of the sighting is significant. It was just before Maura's car was found abandoned on Route 112. The witness's statement reignited hope that there might still be evidence or a witness out there who could offer a new angle on Maura's disappearance. Investigators have since re-examined this lead, trying to piece together the movements of Maura's car that night. Could this sighting finally provide a missing piece of the puzzle in Maura's case? What does it mean for the ongoing search for the truth? As we continue to explore new evidence and theories, the mystery of Maura Murray's disappearance only deepens. Stay with us as we uncover more details that may finally lead to a breakthrough in this chilling case. As investigators continue to follow up on the new lead from Vermont, another theory began to gain traction: the possibility that Maura's disappearance was tied to a dangerous, predatory individual. A 2019 podcast episode on the disappearance of Maura Murray introduced a chilling possibility that had previously been overlooked. Maura may have been followed or stalked by someone she knew. This theory is grounded in Maura's psychological profile, which reveals signs of anxiety and possible fears regarding a specific person or incident. Could Maura have been intentionally avoiding someone who might have been waiting for the right moment to strike? Perhaps the car accident was not an accident at all, but a staged event designed to make Maura's disappearance appear like a tragic incident, when in fact, it was a result of premeditated action. This theory suggests a much darker twist: the idea that someone had been tracking Maura, possibly even in the days leading up to crash. If this person had been keeping tabs on her movements, it would explain the oddities surrounding her disappearance, the emotional distress, the cryptic phone calls, and the unusual circumstances of the accident. But if Maura had truly been fleeing from someone, why hadn't she been able to make it further away? And why hadn't her abductors surfaced in an investigation? Was this person hiding in plain sight, possibly known to Maura's family or her circle of friends? Another intriguing aspect of the case revolves around the tight-knit community of Haverhill, where Maura's car was found. Despite the widespread media attention, there's been no public indication that anyone from the area knows what happened to Maura. Could someone in the community be hiding the truth? The Haverhill region is a sparsely populated area, with vast stretches of wilderness and low traffic at night. It is precisely the kind of place where a person could disappear, and yet, despite numerous searches over the years, no new physical evidence has been uncovered. Were people in the area simply unaware of what happened, or was there something more to silence surrounding Maura's disappearance? Perhaps someone in the community has knowledge of what happened to Maura and is simply too afraid to come forward. The possibility of local involvement, whether through witnessing something or knowing someone involved, adds another layer of complexity to the case. The reluctance of the community to speak out only adds fuel to the fire of speculation. Could someone in the quiet community of Haverhill know more than they are letting on? Was Maura's disappearance the result of a dangerous individual hiding in plain sight, or was an act of flight from someone close to her? As we continue to unravel the mystery, the possibility of someone withholding key information becomes more and more compelling. Stay with us as we explore these chilling implications and move closer to the truth of Maura's fate. As the case reaches its 17th anniversary, new eyes have begun to scrutinize the digital footprints left behind by Maura. While much of her activity on the day of her disappearance is known, it wasn't until recent years that investigators started to take a closer look at her internet activity, especially a strange email sent by Maura earlier that day to a friend. The email was cryptic and vague, almost as if Maura had been trying to convey something important without directly saying it. Was it a message meant for someone else? Perhaps a final warning or a cry for help? The lack of context around the email has left it open to interpretation, but some experts now believe that Maura may have been trying to send a signal to someone close to her. This theory is particularly compelling because Maura had no known reason to leave so suddenly. Could this cryptic email hold the key to unlocking the mystery of her disappearance? Even with all the twists and turns, the truth remains frustratingly out of reach. The Maura Murray case is far from closed, and as each year passes, the weight of the unanswered questions grows heavier for her family, her friends, and the investigators still working tirelessly to find the truth. Maura's story has left an indelible mark on the world. Her name etched into the growing list of mysterious disappearances that continue to haunt investigators. Whether Maura is alive or dead, the mystery of her fate refuses to be silenced. As we continue to explore new evidence, theories, and fresh leads, we ask, will the truth finally be revealed, or will Maura Murray remain a haunting mystery forever? The case of Maura Murray is a reminder that some mysteries refuse to be solved, no matter how many years pass. While some may believe it was simply a tragic accident, others remain convinced that there's a far darker truth lurking behind the story. For Maura's family, the search for closure continues, and the hope that someday they'll have an answer keeps them going. The truth may be closer than ever, or perhaps it will remain hidden in the woods, just as Maura has been for over a decade. For now, the case of Maura Murray remains open, a chilling reminder that sometimes the deepest mysteries leave the most painful scars.